opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good morning, Philippines. It's Thursday, November 8, 2012. Welcome to Practical Business, now on its second season. I'm your host, Miguel Hill. Okay, we have a very interesting show for you this morning. On the show today, Sergio Ortiz Luis Jr., President of the Philippine Exporters Confederation, or Philexport, who will share with us what is hot and what is not in the export sector. Also with us, Dennis Danao, Purveyor of Services in Preparation for one's trip to the hereafter. And also with us is Joko Kalimlim, a furniture marketing man. Okay. Sir, Mr. Ortiz Luis, good morning and welcome to Practical Business. Your first guesting with me in quite a while. Anyway, sir, before anything else, what are your comments regarding the re-election of President Barack Obama? I ask this question because the Obama administration has been trying to keep everything stateside. And the Philippines has always gotten a big chunk of the export market to the U.S. and even the outsourcing market. So policy-wise, do you think that this administration, for another 4 years, will positively or negatively impact us?
Well, the question has been asked whether it's better for us to have Obama or Romney, but the fact is we don't really know. As far as we're concerned, neutral. The pronouncement of President Obama in his first term that he will try to keep jobs in the U.S. and therefore try to win away the outsourcing jobs that are going here did not come true because and even now even if he continues with that policy, unless he goes punitive, no, meaning there will be for those who will be having their outsourcing here, the fact is the incentives that will be withdrawn cannot outweigh the savings the outsourcing companies that are locating abroad will have. So it did not come true, and even in the second term, I don't think it will happen because, as I said, it's not the American way to go punitive on this. No, they probably discourage it by taking away as much as possible whatever incentives there are, and they are not enough to discourage them.
So basically, what you're saying this is more of campaign speeches on his part, on the administration's part, but ultimately the deciding factor will be costs.
Well, at least not on the outsourcing. I don't think it will be affected.
You're also with PCCI, so you're in the loop as far as that's concerned.
But there is one positive aspect in the export business in the area of garments. No? We are aware that our government has been negotiating with the U.S. with some help from the State Department, no?
Yes.
Which are Obama people, about the same act. On the garments, no. Because of that, there is a possibility that because of the election of Obama, our people will be talking with the same people
So
and
continuity.
the chance that it will be passed in the next Congress in the U.S. Is bigger than if there was a change of administration.
Okay, you're talking about Philippine garments, but if I'm not mistaken, that industry has pretty much well, not exactly folded up, but it's shrunk to such an extent where it's no longer competitive. So will this entail some sort of favorable treatment from the United States?
Well, the same act is a legislation that they were trying to introduce, which basically will favor suppliers of textile from the U.S., which will be sent here, but they will give some sort of a quota for them, for those we buy and we ship
Quota.
to the U.S. Now,
So is this to the detriment of China or what?
well, we don't really have a textile industry here.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore we import all our textile anyway.
Mhm.
So it is saying, well, give us quota, but we will use your textile. That's what SABAC is. So and you know that as you mentioned, lost glory
Ang textile
ang
industry
textile
natin, yes, sir.
when the quota was withdrawn, or when the quota regime has ended. But that is a possibility that we might regain those portions, at least for some aspect of the garment sector, some products.
In fact, a few weeks ago, the chairman of TexPap, Textiles Producers Association of the Philippines, was here, and to quote him, he said that, the local textile industry is practically dead. No? So we're resurrecting it by way of assuring, uh, guaranteeing a market somewhere, uh, which will be the primary incentive for the local manufacturers to try to breathe new life into their
Well,
companies.
we never really had anyway a textile industry. No, you remember during the Marcos time, they even came up with certain incentives for textile, the apostles, the
Mhm.
12 apostles, so they called it time, but it never really flew.
Mhm.
Uh, and now we're really talking of the garments, not the textile industry. We're using the textile industry of the U.S. as a come-on for them to give us quota for our garments.
Garments is RTW, basically, yung finished product.
Yes, yes,
So,
garments are finished products.
mga denims, jeans, shirts.
And unfortunately, while it has shrunk, no, it has remained as one of the biggest sector in the export sector. During that time, if I remember correctly, during the regime of the quota,
Mhm.
we were export. It was number one before yung lumaki yung electronic sector, no, and then became number two. But it was
Like semiconductors,
it
basically.
was a $3 billion market. Now I think nasa 2 billion pa rin, no? In spite of that, and the possibility that it will prosper is if that SABAC is passed.
So what's the biggest destination of Philippine exports? Is it still the U.S.? Is it the United Kingdom? I hear the British are getting a lot of our exports as well. Is it Japan?
A decade ago, uh, our export destination is the U.S. at something like 34%.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Second then was Japan at about 14%, and I think um, combination of EU in the vicinity also of about 11%. No?
So it's
But
it's
but
really the U.S.
but things has changed with the problems that they encountered in the US, in the EU, yung mga crisis na pinagdaanan, it has shifted basically in Asia. Our biggest growing market really was China,
of Philippine exports.
of Philippine export.
So palitan tayo in effect
Uh,
ng mainland China.
What we have lost during the financial crisis, for instance, in the US and EU, was taken in by China. Now, the distribution is something like at least in August, no, the figures that I saw, US was 15.5%, Japan was 15.5%. There was a tie. China
Mhm.
was in the vicinity of 15. No? But if you include, if you call Greater China, which includes Macau, Taiwan, Hong Kong, that they will be number one already.
Uh-huh. We'll talk about our other exports, our furniture exports in a little while. Anyway, for those who've been following this program for some time, you would notice that our set now is new. And that was made possible by our industry partners. In this case, My Pamana Furniture, who is represented here by its marketing manager, Mr. Joho Kalimlim.
Yes.
Morning, Joho, and
Morning.
welcome to Practical Business.
Thank you.
Are you satisfied with our setup?
Probably you could enhance it more
Okay.
with
We're talking about exports, Joko, and there was a time when Philippine furniture was very much desirable in the export market. Does your industry in general still rely on exports, or do you basically zero in on the local market?
basically what happened now in the local market is that we have a lot of market who has actually wanted to buy this certain products. For example, like in our store in SM Masinag, we have a lot of households who keep on um, subscribing to our kind of Filipino themed furniture.
Uh-huh. Pero is this can we call the furniture industry as a sort of a sunset industry? Some people are calling it a sunset industry in view of the fact that restrictions as far as timber is concerned is getting tighter and tighter with a lot of logging bans all over the country, and I think this is also a global trend.
Of course, we are very directly affected with this lag ban that's happening all over the world. But we tend to make an alternative. Not we don't just use the hardwoods now, but we also use the
Gemilina, okay,
Gemilina
paper tree.
paper tree, and either some rattans too, which actually you could grew so faster, and it's a trend now that you use the rattans.
Are you competitive with China because a lot of furniture now is just being imported? Before it was basically a captured market of local furniture makers.
Our compared to China products, I think our Filipino-made products are way more into quality and durability compared to whatever they're offering to us. So I think that's also a way of being competitive to them.
Mr. Ortiz Luis, what do you think about the furniture industry? Buhay pa ba to? Dahil alam ko this was a big thing before. Furniture handicrafts, when I was a kid, this was the big thing, no?
Well-
Before the semiconductors, etc.
Everybody was prepared to write off the furniture industry when the lagging ban came, no?
A few years ago lang yan.
But they're very versatile. As a matter of fact, yung medium nila has been a mixed medium now, no? Dati hardwood. Ngayon, they can use shells, they use cast iron, they use plastics, they use
Plastics,
whatever.
yung mga monoblocks.
And yung mga finishing style nila, they can make it appear like even the softwood as hardwood. So it's a so and crisis after crisis, the other exporters suffers, but they have always survived because they can easily fall back to the local market. Like now, even if the export market is down, there is a lot of construction of condominiums, a lot of construction of hotels, and they're able to do this. As a matter of fact, many of our exporters are now doing fit-ins abroad, and therefore, uh, while the other sectors are down, especially these last few months, surprisingly, furniture is up.
Is
It's growing.
Furniture export.
Yes.
Okay, ito si Sir Ortiz Luis ang expert dyan. Anyway, ganito rin sir yung kaso sa garments and sa RTWs. If you cannot compete with the mass production items, yung mga monoblocks from China or yung mga flimsy wood, itong mga ganito, itong mga high quality woods like this, what is this? Is it Molave or Camagong or whatever? So, do you think that we can remain competitive, Joko?
Yes, sir.
What do we have going for us? Is it craftsmanship or what?
It's the craftsmanship and the distinct taste of the Filipino furniture that we are offering. I think that's enough for us to be competitive.
Do you export?
Not yet, sir.
Your company doesn't export
Not
yet.
yet.
But do you think that the local market, is there enough demand locally to sustain?
Yes, sir.
Like, who buys furniture here in this kind of economy?
A lot of people from all walks of life, from ordinary housewives to people who is actually on the office with the bosses. We actually meet with them and deal with them, and they.
So you do
actually-
corporate. Your
Yes, sir.
company does corporate.
Yes,
So ang Filipino is particular sa kanilang mga muebles.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Very.
Practical Business will be right back after a few reminders. Don't go away.